Grace and peace, everybody. We are back. Happy, thankful Thursday to everyone who's already jumped in to the best live chat on the internet. I know it's at 1 o'clock. I know it's different. You're like, Jason, how are we doing a live stream at 1 o'clock? Well, that's because I got a guest coming on shortly, and they're over on that West Coast time. So we got to be kind of gracious to the West Coasters. So anyway, I said I would do it earlier, but I appreciate y'all jumping in for sure. This is going to be a good one. So hopefully you got your questions. We're going to be talking with the beard lawyer. We're going to be talking about the Tyler Robinson case. We'll talk a little bit about the Macron case as well. Don't worry. A little bit about that Harpo case. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Carmelo Anthony. There's a lot of cases going on, a lot of things happening, and that's not even the end of it. So we got a lot to talk about today. So anyway, thank you so much for jumping into the best live chat on the internet. Let me see what we got. I do know that my guest is running a tad bit late, so we're going to jump in. I'm going to filibuster. I'm going to do a little bit of filibustering up in here. What we got up in here? Shout out to you. Thank you so much for stopping through. I appreciate you. I want to say, I know it's rambling, it's odorized ramblings. I got you. Shout out to you so much, Mikey. Thank you so much for following on through. Chrissy's in the building. How are you? Our moderators are in the house. Thank y'all so much for doing what y'all do. Natalie, how are you, friend? She was number one. She said, look, I'm up in here. What's going on, Jason? What's happening? Now, granted, how are you? You must have liked this video yesterday. She was up in here already. What's going on, Mackenzie? How are you? Oh, no. Well, we're glad you're okay. We thank you for hanging out with us, Mackenzie. Good to have you. Oh, my gosh. But then I would lose everybody. What did Mike say? Mike said, you should sing for us while we wait. The problem is, if I did that, y'all would leave. There would be no waiting. There would be people like running for the door. What's going on, Amy? Hey to you too, friend. How are you? What's going on, Nikki? How are you for sure? I appreciate it. I did a video earlier today for the members only, and I will make it available to the general community. Uncivil Law did a fantastic job of dissecting what we saw and debunking what we saw from the Tyler Robinson trial and the foolishness that has been out there. He did a fantastic job. Definitely check out Uncivil Law. Fantastic content creator. If the mods want to drop that link in the chat, I really would appreciate it for sure. I'm going to do something a little bit slightly different because I do want to hear your thoughts on this. Okay, in the chat right now, how many of you all are excited, looking forward to, anticipating going to go see the most recent Odyssey movie that's coming out that actually is available, I think, tonight? I think general opening is this evening. Is anybody actually excited to see this movie? And if so, I do kind of want to know why. Are you excited to watch this movie? And if so, what has got you excited about it? Just asking, not trying to start a fight. I heard it was bad. Okay. Interesting. Uncivil Law. Oh, thank you so much there, Christy. Thank you for dropping that in there. Thank you. Yeah. I want to know, like, how many of you all are excited about watching that, if at all? No thanks. What's going on, Tanya? Good to see you. Thank you so much. It looks dull and none of the casting excites me. Okay. I don't do movie theaters anymore. Really? I didn't either, but me and Chief Executive Secondborn, we did go see Masters of the Universe. I'm sorry, that movie was good. I disagree with anybody who didn't like it. It was good. But I understand people for sure. Not really. I don't pay hardly any attention to Hollywood. Okay, I can dig that. I can dig it. I'm excited for I Play Rocky. What is that? What is that? I don't know about that one. What's going on, Jim? How are you? Hello to you, sir. Okay. Right. I'm trying to tell you. Masters of the Universe, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was a good movie. Nah, I actually heard a review about that. Elliot Page is not just an ancillary character in the movie either, by the way. Okay, I got you. No, it's not a cameo. Wait. No, Elliot Page is not a cameo in that movie. He's she is a pivotal character in the movie. It's not just a character, not just a cameo. It's a pivotal character in that movie. Hey, what's going on, Cachet? I appreciate you. What's happening? Oh, that's a great point. Supporting some Angel Theater, Angel Productions, absolutely. Oh, yes. I did like the one cameo. There was a great cameo in Masters of the Universe I thought was excellent. To me, I thought that actually helped the movie out a great deal. My daughter was like, "Why are you so geeking out, Dad?" It's not Achilles. No, it's not Achilles. It's not Achilles. They switched Achilles for another character that's actually not in the Iliad or the Odyssey. They switched him for another character, and that character takes Achilles' place, and that character is Ellen Elliott Page. So basically, they made Ellen Page a pivotal character in the book by moving a new character into that position. It's kind of wild, but I just was wondering if anybody's really excited about this movie. I don't know. I hear people talking about it, trying to make it more than it is, in my opinion. I don't see it. It doesn't give me that epic movie vibe, if you will. When you look at like grand scale movies, Gladiator, you look at grand scale movies, Troy, all of the Lord of the Rings, you're looking at grand scale movies. It just isn't giving me grand scale movie. Like, what's the purpose of this movie? Yeah, there's a lot of people that have reviewed it, and they're going to come out. There'll be more of them tomorrow because today I think the embargo lifted this morning. So by tomorrow you'll really know what people think about that movie. They didn't replace Brad Pitt. He's just not the character of the movie. So they got rid of, how I understand it, when Odysseus goes to Hades, he speaks to the ghost of Achilles, right? Well, that's in the play. However, in this movie, he doesn't speak to the ghost of Achilles. He speaks to, don't quote me on, I want to say the character's name is Circe. And Circe is not actually in the Iliad or the Odyssey. That's the character that Elliot Page or Ellen Page is playing. So this character is a huge part of the movement of this play or movie. So he said an AMC stub member. Wow. They left out the gods. They left out quite a bit. I heard it was just a very interesting movie. So anyway, I was just wondering if anybody was actually excited about watching it, and it doesn't look like anybody is. So I'll take that for what it is. Only reason as I'm waiting for my guests to come in, and the reason I ask is because I hear a lot of people saying, like Chief Executive Second Born, they really like, she and her sister really enjoy Greek myths. They're very big on that. They like those things. They like all of the renditions of myths, Greek myths, and such like that. And so I don't know how they're gonna feel when they see this, because this is not the Greek myth that you thought it was. This is not the Greek myth you were looking for. Absolutely. So one of the things, and if you look at the standard now for Oscars, the standard for Oscars has a lot of other things added to it now. You must have diverse casts. You must have LGBT community involvement, a lot of representation. All those kind of standards are now a part of if you want to get an Oscar. A lot of people are arguing that the reason Christopher Nolan did this is to get an Oscar, which is going to be very interesting. Okay, what is this? I Play Rock. What is this? What are y'all talking about? Hold on. I Play Rocky. It's a 2026 film. What is this? Are they remaking Rocky? Hold on. It's an Amazon. I can't play it because is this not? Wow. All right. Yeah, you got me on that one. Yeah, y'all got me. Y'all know y'all got me. I like that. The little bit that I watched, I'm all for that. Okay, you got me. We will be watching that. Is this? Oh, it's on Amazon. When does it come out? That looks good. The little bit that I've watched 2 minutes of it, roughly. No, y'all got me. Y'all got me on that one. We will. We will try to pull that together soon. No, we're not going to do a watch party, but I'll do a review of it. I think Play Rocky is a story of Sylvester. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, and how he came to star in the movie. Okay, and who's this guy that's playing him? Because he's got me. He's already won me over. Who's this guy? Here, while we're waiting, do not get in trouble, Jason. Do not get in trouble. All right. Oh, sorry about that. All right, who's this guy? Because he looks like him, man. This guy would pass. Is this not his son or something? That guy looks like him for sure. Oh, only in theaters in November. Okay, there we go. No, in November. Got a little bit of time. I'm just gonna scan through it. Like, no, he sounds like him right here. He sounds like him. You guys got me. Okay. Shout out to whoever told me that. I didn't know anything about this. All right. Now this is I'm I'm convinced. I'm just scanning through it because I don't want to get a copyright ding. An incredible true story. Yeah. Wow. Whoa, is this Apollo? I mean, Carl Weathers? Carl Weathers. Okay. I can. This is not bad. This looks pretty good. Oh gosh, there goes the infamous run the stairs. Okay. All right, is there? Oh, he getting it. That old young gray suit, a gray sweatsuit, the whole nine. Okay, I'm not gonna play it because again, I don't want to catch Hades from Amazon. Okay, y'all might. Okay, I appreciate y'all telling me about this. This looks pretty good. I like Sylvester Stallone. I think he's a great actor. Truth be told, I'm a fan of Sly Stallone. So okay, I can. Y'all got me. Y'all won your boy over. Y'all got me. I absolutely no. I'm looking forward to that one. I'm also looking forward to my guest. Let me check my email real quick. Let me just real quick make a fix here. All right. What's going on, good people? I see Eclectic in the building. How are you, friend? Thank you so much for stopping through. I appreciate it. I like Sly Stone, so I've seen all the Rocky. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit impressed. This one looks good. Whoever told me about this, kudos to you. You get a gold star for the day. I'm gonna make sure I ask my guest. Is he excited about the Sly Stallone movie biography in November? I think it's gonna be interesting. So I think that I'm looking forward to that. Thank y'all for telling me about that for sure. Now, with no further ado, because y'all like Jason. Okay, man, you stalling, Jason. You stalling. You talking a lot. Anyway, guess what? We got the beard lawyer in the building. Let's go ahead and get him in. Shout out to what's going on, sir? How are you?
What's up, Jay Witt? I'm good, man. How are you?
Quite well, thank you. Quite well. Now, you came in to the studio, and we were having a very deep philosophical conversation. So now you have to jump in, and this is not one of my original questions I was going to ask you. So now you're stuck with it. Are you excited about this movie about Sylvester Stallone?
Listen, Sylvester Stallone. Let's talk about this.
Let's
Okay?
go. Let's
Let's
go.
go. Let's do this because Sylvester Stallone is one of my all-time favorite, like childhood. This guy, what hasn't he done? Homeboy was homeless, as the story goes. This guy had a script that every producer rejected. He wrote the script. He acted in it. he's got what he described as self-described facial deformity, thought he would never make it. And I mean, in those days, he killed it. He made mid eight figures. And then, you know, how many Rocky
Ram,
movies are there now?
don't quote me on this. I want to say there's 5 and several spin-offs. I think there's
I
5
mean,
original Rockies and 3 Creeds.
he,
I'll look it up.
he did everything you could do to survive, and he did a damn good job of it. And for the most part, he stayed out of controversy, which is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a rock star, so I'm excited about it for sure.
I didn't know anything about it until literally just maybe like 8 minutes ago. People were. I asked my audience, were they excited to see the Odyssey?
Yeah.
And I'm not excited about it, but Chief Executive Secondborn and President Firstborn, they want to see the Odyssey. I'm like, this is not the Odyssey you're expecting, kiddos. But I want to see the audience. The audience, yeah, they're kind of lukewarm to that. But a lot of people were saying they're excited about this I Play Rocky. I'm like, what is this? What is it? What are you talking about? I pulled it up and I watched like a few seconds of it. I'm like, oh, this sounds good. I don't know who the guy is that playing him, but my goodness, you got to watch it because you're a Stallone fan. You're going to be like, wait, hold on. Wait. The guy sounds just like him.
I'm a huge Stallone fan, and I don't know. I don't know anything about this actor. I think Stallone should play Stallone. Maybe he'll make a guest appearance in the movie. But yeah,
you know what? Okay, watch it, and then call me back and let me know. Do you think he needs to be in it? I don't think he needs to. When you hear this guy talk, you're gonna be like, "Oh, Stallone is in the building."
Okay, all right.
I really wish I could play it, but I don't want to get a copyright ding. Matter of fact, you need to talk to these people and tell them let us play the commercials, man. I'm giving them promotion. Ladies and gentlemen, we got the Beard Lawyer in the building. Y'all, thank y'all so much, everybody who's jumped into the best live chat. First of all, I just want to say again, thank you, Beard, for coming on. We've had a great conversation last time. Clearly, I didn't run you away because you came back. You traveled back you were overseas when we talked initially, and now you're back at home base, right?
That's right. I was in the Balkans. So I was in Bosnia, then I was in Albania, then I was in Montenegro, and briefly in Macedonia. I think when you and I spoke, I was actually in Albania. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to ask. I don't usually do this. What is that behind your head? Why is there a Formula One car behind your head?
Oh, we didn't talk about this? This is like the centerpiece of my office here. So this is actually a scale model Formula One. It's the MP44 Ayrton Senna McLaren. And it's a scale model, so it's a half scale. So it's actually 7.5 feet across, weighs almost about 200 pounds, full carbon fiber. But it's kind of a mix between, I'm a car buff, I'm also an art buff, and I also just really love Formula One cars. And so for me, this was just like office decor plus a little bit of art. But yeah, that's what it is,
I love it. All right, so let's get at this, man. We have a lot to talk about today. So you got your questions. You know what I'm going to ask you. So Beard, before you became the Beard Lawyer that we all know and love, was there a particular case or moment of injustice or something you saw that made you step in and say, hey, I need to be a lawyer? Or matter of fact, is lawyering in your family? Like, give us a little bit of background.
Yeah, it's a great question. So there are no lawyers in my family.
Okay.
I've got extended family where we later realized we were related and, have lawyers, but not up and down, side to side, no lawyers in the family. What happened was I actually wanted to be a lawyer after, I think it was sometime after September 11th, actually, where I realized it was a weird time because, first of all, being Muslim and being brown and also media. This is where my interest in media really spiked. I always disliked mainstream media. I always felt like there was motives and the story wasn't told. So it was an intersection between, this travesty that happened, prejudice and racism that happened, and then the need for justice, and then also what the heck, media is not doing any favors to anybody. So it was that intersection that caused me to say, you know what, I could become a journalist, or an independent blogger, and we're talking 2001, right?
Right.
Or I could do something more academic, become a lawyer, and actually represent people and have credibility. And so I decided to do the latter. And I was always interested in entrepreneurship and interested in digital media. And so it was a no-brainer to become an internet lawyer, an e-com lawyer, and tech lawyer. That's my space. That's where I live. But this has given me an opportunity to help people that are victims every day, who have their reputations tarnished, or people who need a defense because they're being harassed and abused by a jilted ex business partner, ex lover,
Yikes.
and yeah, so it's really on the cutting edge now, especially with AI and deep fakes. And so I love what I do. My firm is definitely ahead of the curve when it comes to handling these types of cases. We handle them nationally. We do a good volume of cases, and I'm always ready for a challenge. They're challenging cases, as you've seen with every public defamation case, from Amber Heard to Justin Baldoni to now Candace Owens. They're not slam dunk cases. They never are. They're extremely challenging. Every case has its own issue, but I really believe in justice. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes justice doesn't happen in the courtrooms. Sometimes it has to happen online.
Got it.
And sometimes the inverse is true. Sometimes, the injustice is happening on the internet, and justice has to happen in the courtroom. It's never perfect, though. And that all of those things kind of coalesce to motivate me to practice law.
I love it. Okay, so I'm going to take this question, though. I sent it to you one way. I'm going to just say it a different way. So did you choose this form of law, or do you feel like this form of law chose you?
Yeah.
Because you definitely are dialed in on it. But I'm just like, did it choose you? Because initially, after 9/11, we're talking about justice. We're talking about, criminal issues and civil issues, but you're in another space. So which one, did you choose that other space, or did the space choose you?
I definitely would not do any other area of law. I think
Really?
I,
Okay.
I definitely chose it. I always tell people I chose it. It didn't choose me.
Okay.
But even if I try to run from it, it always comes back to me. So I feel
I
like
got you.
it was manifest destiny that I land where I am and do what I do. I mean, look, it takes a certain personality too, because you take heat from the public, right? As you've seen, in a way, content creators and lawyers who are, represent people who are content creators, they're not too far apart, because no matter what you
That's fair.
say, there's going to be a gang of people waiting to burn you and torch you, no matter what you say.
Right. Yeah.
Because not everyone believes black and white, right? Not everyone believes right is right, wrong is wrong. I mean, we could talk about all kinds of cases. I mean, look at Luigi Mangione and the Brian Thompson.
Okay.
Some people will say, "Hey, that was well deserved. The guy had pulled the plug on so many people that needed health care, and United Healthcare was operating a criminal syndicate." Other people will say, "You don't shoot somebody in the back of the head cold-blooded. That's murder. That's premeditated
Right.
murder." Right? And so how is it that we can differ on something like that, which to me seems black and white, but apparently to the world, it does not seem black and white. So this is another thing that motivated me to be a lawyer and, again, practice in this space, which is there's been a slow erosion, I think, of morality and humanity.
That's fair.
And I don't think I don't think the founders of our wonderful country would be happy if they woke up today to see what it looks like.
No, I agree with you 100%. Was there a particular case that maybe, that fork in the road, so to speak, that really drove you to this space? That like, oh, this case right here is the touchstone or the milestone where I really pivoted and became the beard lawyer that we know and love now, versus where you were going 20 minutes before even.
What's interesting is I see cases of mass injustice every day where I kind of get a reminder. So was there a fork in the road? Not really, because I've been doing this for 16 years and straight out of law school.
Right.
When Amazon was first becoming a thing, the thing that I hated more than anything else was these fake reviews with entrepreneurs trying to launch products and competitors saying, this product sucks, it's fake, it's made in China when it's actually made in Italy or America. And it was all about who had the budget to promote fake news, if you will. I mean, it's been
Wow.
it's been going on for a long time. I hated that. I'm like, how's a small guy in today's world, small guy or gal for that matter, going to push innovation, kind of realize the American dream, become an entrepreneur when it's all about how much ad spend you have to crush the other side with a fake, a defamation campaign. That intrigued me. So from day one, and I had a lot of those cases, even starting out. And then you had websites like, she's a homewrecker.com. And there's a bunch of these websites, the cheating websites, right?
For real?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nowadays, the equivalent is, have you seen this Facebook page called "Are We Dating the Same Guy"?
I've heard about it. I've never seen it, but I've heard about it.
Yeah. So look, if you get posted in a page like that, and I think it goes by like city by city, you may never know for years until somebody that you're in a relationship with says, by the way, did you know you're on the site? Because it's an invite only. Same with the T app. So now there's these closed groups where injustice can happen. You can't even you may not even know about it. It can go on for years, and then you come out and like, what the heck? This is completely false. It's completely made up. And those are the people who call me now.
Okay, let me ask. Okay, I didn't know anything about that, so let me ask this question. Somebody random finds out that they're on one of these private groups, and somebody has misapplied, put their picture on there, and is basically straight defamation. I mean, right down the line defamation. What do you do? Like, how do you get access to it? You're not a member of this group. What? It's all private. Nobody knows who even owns it or the website. How does that work?
So there's a couple of ways that this can work, and how it works depends on if we know, first of all, who the person that's posting this content is.
Okay.
So many of the times in these forums, it's anonymous, right? You got a username, Snake47, right? And Snake47 is talking about Jaywit in a fictitious
shout out to Snake47.
Say what?
I said shout out to Snake47.
Shout out to Snake47 for now, until Snake47 gets hit with the defamation lawsuit.
Come on.
By yours truly. But no, so what happens is typically there's even the process of finding out. So let's just assume that you're in a relationship and the person you're in a relationship says, hey, Jay, did you see this post? And sends you a screenshot. Because remember, you can't access the link. So it's only a screenshot. You see it like, this is absolutely false. And who's this Snake47, right? Like, who is this guy or gal? And the person you're in a relationship says, you know what? Let me do a deep dive and find out. I'm in the forum. And they start asking questions, pretending to be a neutral. That's usually how it happens. Now, once they collect the data, meaning screenshots, and ask some questions to try to identify who it is, they send it to you. You call Beard Lawyer. You say, Beard Lawyer, I heard you're the man for this kind of job.
I'm sending up the bat signal. I'm sending up the bat signal for the beard signal.
Okay. First step in that process is you got to throw down some money to talk to me. Let's assume that's happened. I do my analysis. And I say, look, I ask you if this is true. What proof do you have? And I identify it. Either Snake47 is making up lies, or it's true. If you were mean to somebody on a first date and that person didn't get good vibes, that's probably not defamatory. But if somebody accuses you of assault or SA,
that's kind of
right?
crazy.
Which again, a lot of people in these forums say stuff like that about innocent guys, and unfortunately, it lands in my lap. So what do? Well, I evaluate it and I say, okay, well, our process would be, can we file a John Doe or Jane Doe lawsuit? An anonymous person. So it would be Jay Witt versus John Doe or Jane Doe. Figure out the proper jurisdiction to file in. Make sure our analysis shows that we can pass First Amendment scrutiny, right? Meaning, is this protected speech or not? And there's different tests. In California, it's Krinsky. In Arizona, it's Mobilisa. And most jurisdictions have some sort of test to determine if this is protected speech. Because remember, Jay, you have a right to speak anonymously online. You do.
Okay.
If you were just a face with a mask and you had a, sort of an anonymous account and you were talking about people like Candace and Brian Harpole, and you would be entitled to the First Amendment would protect that. Okay.
That's fair.
the dance we have to do now is we have to show a judge that, Your Honor, this is not protected speech and my client's been harmed. And then we issue a subpoena. So we file a lawsuit against an anonymous person. We issue a subpoena to the platform. So in the event that this is Facebook, we're asking Facebook for the information relating to that user account, right? Snake 47.
Snake 47, you're going down.
You're going down. And look, sometimes Meta's lawyers are great. Let's just face it. Their job is to protect their client. And we end up going to battle. We end up throwing hooks and uppercuts at each other until ultimately we land on, okay, Raees might be right on this. And sometimes I'm not right. But usually I pick my cases wisely and I'm able to show that this is a case where the identity should be revealed. So what they'll do is they'll give me a tranche. They'll produce electronic evidence, okay? So now, Jay, you're getting a call from me. Actually, you'll get an email. It says, Jay,
Okay.
Here's the data that we got, okay? It's this email, it's this phone number, it's this IP address. Do you recognize any of it? And you're going to type that into your phone, the number, and you're going to say, hey, Beard lawyer, this is actually a gal that I went on a date with once 3 months ago. Here's her number. And boom, we've got her perp, right? So that's best case scenario, Jay. That's best case scenario. It doesn't always shake down like that. Unfortunately, there are times where we go through that process, and even after we fight Meta and we get the data, we can't identify who it is. So it's not always a slam dunk, but that's how we deal with those cases. We do a lot of these cases, by the way.
Right. Wow. Okay, so this is very interesting because I've always wondered, like, what would happen if somebody, made up a site, just start putting people's names on there, their pictures, their identifiers, and they're just making it up. They're just outright lying. And I don't know you from a can of paint. Beard has never met you. Nobody knows you, and you're just putting that out there. And so, okay, I think I better understand it. I will not be calling you for that, being the fact that I've been married for 25 years. So I will not be doing that.
I will tell you something else. The fact that you are in a committed relationship, maybe an honest guy,
I'm trying my best.
does not
Doing my best to be
preclude
honest.
somebody from manufacturing that you are not.
That is
Remember
fair.
that.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, after 16 years of doing this, that the tide is shifted to. And I'm just going to say this is going to upset a lot of people, but I don't care. It's the truth, and it's my truth that I see in my cases. I get an unreal number of calls and inquiries where it's guys saying, dude, this is absolutely false. This did not happen. And we are able to later prove that it was false and didn't happen. And it was a female who posted it. Now, I'm not saying the other way around doesn't happen. I'm just saying that I think the opportunity for women to manufacture something that happened that didn't is very high. Now, Jay, I'm going to say this. If a woman makes an allegation, we have to take it seriously.
Seriously. Yeah, absolutely.
And this is where the job of a lawyer to be investigator first comes in. So I'll leave it at that.
I got you. I am going to pull something on the screen just in case some people were wondering. This is not the one I had envisioned. It's not what I had in my mind. I actually had a T-shirt with that on it in the past. But you're like, well, Jason, what are you talking about? Well, this is the Beard Man logo. So we put the Beard Man logo.
What is that?
It's a Batman signal with the beard.
Who made that?
There's somebody on Facebook had it. But it was just, remember I said I put up the Beard Man logo in the sky, the Beard Man sign?
Oh, I got you. I got you. Man,
there we go.
Creative.
We're very creative. I had a shirt that had that on there, but I couldn't find the picture of it. So anyway, I just found somebody on Facebook. Anyway, but no, that is super wild, man. Well, I'm glad that you fight for this type of situation. So let's get out of this this murky water. Let's talk about something that's easy peasy, man. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. Now that the Tyler Robinson trial or the preliminary trial is over, do you think people will look back and say justice was served last week, or that the public narrative got ahead of the evidence?
Let me say this. You're correct to say that it was a preliminary hearing regarding Tyler Robinson and whether prosecutors could meet the probable cause standard to show that a crime was committed and that this is sufficient evidence to bring Tyler Robinson to trial. That's the
Correct.
question that's being answered. And I think prosecution did a fantastic job of presenting the evidence. I think the defense was relatively weak, only because the defense is weak. I mean, they did what they had to do. They objected to the admission of evidence, hearsay, the quality of evidence. But note, I'm not hearing evidence that says Tyler Robinson didn't do this. I'm not hearing, it's not coming out. It's just not, I'm not hearing it. Maybe viewers can disagree with me, but I am not hearing that this wasn't Tyler Robinson, look at somebody else. Now, there was questions about DNA, right? But the overwhelming evidence tends to show that, number one, there's surveillance video that prosecutors say tracks Robinson's movements before and after the shooting of Charlie Kirk at that Utah Valley University. There was forensic DNA, which a DNA expert testified was recovered from the murder weapon and ammunition that overwhelmingly belonged to Robinson. And there was statistical data that was given on this, right? And the statistical data overwhelmingly suggests that there is a tie. Now, again, it doesn't mean that evidence alone doesn't mean he did it. Remember, what it means is they're trying to show that it passes the probable cause threshold. And the probable cause threshold is really just the same threshold, Jay, for police to get a warrant to search your car if they pull you over and you might be slightly intoxicated. It's probable cause to issue a warrant or to arrest you. So it's not a beyond a reasonable doubt, which is what prosecutors will have to prove when this goes to trial ultimately.
Correct.
It is a much lesser standard. So there was also testimony from Robinson's former roommate, partner, as we heard, Lance, and he testified that Tyler expressed remorse that he did this. Okay. Again, he was subject to cross-examination. I'm not seeing holes in this testimony. I believe the overwhelming balance of evidence. Look, the defense challenged the reliability of it. They challenged, the DNA, saying DNA evidence is probable, Judge. There's probability rather than a definitive indication. Yeah, I agree with that. But the problem is the probability weighs more in favor of something happened here and it should go to trial. That's the problem for the defense.
Right.
And they made plenty of objections during the preliminary hearing as to the presentation of evidence. And so, look, these are not rookie defense lawyers. There's good lawyers on both sides, and on the balance of things, I think Tyler Robinson has a problem.
I do agree with you 100%, and I'm glad you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say your question was also public narrative. I mean, look, public narrative always has the potential to taint, the way evidence is viewed. But the nice thing about this is Judge Graff is the one who's calling the shots. It's not a jury.
Correct.
And Judge Graff is a good judge. I mean, he's listening.
He seemed like a top shelf, yeah.
I like Judge Graff. I like his rulings. I like the way he's very careful. He's really trying not to let any prejudice. You saw his face and his reactions when he's watching video. I mean, he's a human just as much as any one of us. But he's looking to see is a standard met. And finally, Jay, an important date everyone should mark down on their calendar. September 1st is when final arguments are going to be made before Judge Graff, Tony Graff. And after those arguments is when he's going to decide whether there was sufficient probable cause for this to bind over, what they say, bind over for trial. So between now and September 1st, I don't think there's going to be a decision on that.
No, I agree. So do you mind, because a lot of people don't understand preliminary versus like your traditional grand jury situation. Why does Utah do it like this versus a grand jury? Which one would you rather see? I know you don't primarily work in this space, but do you have an opinion on that, or maybe can explain or speak on that?
Yeah, so right out of the gate, I mean, I don't do criminal work. I know enough just based on my readings of these cases. The short answer is prosecutors generally make the decision of a preliminary hearing instead of seeking a grand jury indictment. So it's part of our constitutional process. Both are permission. Say that
Could
again.
they do that here in Georgia? Could we do that here in Georgia?
You know, I'm not.
I've never
sure.
heard of
It
that
can
before.
yeah, it can vary by state. Okay, so it's a function
Really?
of state law.
Okay.
In Utah, both mechanisms are available for charging. Prosecutors make the decision. Um, you know, a grand jury is a secret proceeding. We don't.
Correct.
It's not. We don't hear it. It's not televised. Preliminary hearings, as we saw, can be televised in open court. A grand jury, as the term implies, make the decision. In a preliminary hearing, a judge makes a decision on probable cause. Grand jury, generally, the defense doesn't participate. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, now that I didn't know.
Yeah, and preliminary hearing is the defense participates. So there's pros and cons, and it's the system was designed to be balanced, because if there's a preliminary hearing and the attorney says, look, there's some complicated issues that I don't want people to inject their biases. Maybe it's intensely a race issue, or in this case, a highly politically charged issue, okay, with lots of conspiracy theories. I think it was the right call to have the judge do it. And, you know, the caveat, the counterbalance to that is, well, if you're going to have a judge decide, then defense gets to put their show on as well. And that's designed to be the offset. That's designed to be the push and pull between, well, if you're going to have, you know, not people, rather lay people, but a judge decide this, then the defense is going to have an opportunity to poke holes. And so it's a function of state law, and that's how it played out.
Interesting. Okay. No, I appreciate it. Thank you for your insight. All right, let's shift to another trial, another case. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. With the legal standpoint of Mr. Brian Harpole actually have to prove, from a legal standpoint, what does Mr. Harpole, Brian Harpole, actually have to prove to win his case against Candace? And what are the biggest hurdles that you see standing in his way?
This is a classic, straightforward case of defamation. I mean, there's other claims.
So this would be in your house. This would be in your wheelhouse.
This is my wheelhouse. This is my playground.
All right.
And so the elements, there's a few elements, right, for defamation. Brian has to prove that Candace made statements about him that were factual. So we're not capturing statements that are opinion. It's
Right.
false statements of fact, okay? That those statements were about him, that they were not subjective statements that could have been identifying any random Joe, that they were definitely about Brian, okay? Number 3, that they were published to third parties. So in other words, it wasn't Candace talking to Brian and Brian talking to Candace. Some other third party received it. That's obviously a no-brainer because this is on a podcast, okay? These statements were of and concerning Brian, which we talked about. It identifies Brian Harpole. And that they caused harm, some recognized level of harm. And there is such a thing as defamation per se, which is being alleged here. We'll talk about that versus regular defamation in a second. And then Brian would have to prove that Candace acted with the requisite degree of fault, which if it's a private person, if Brian, the plaintiff, is a private person by law, the standard is negligence. He only has to show that Candace Owens made the statements with negligence. If the court determines that he was a public figure or a limited purpose public figure, the standard jumps to actual malice. Actual malice means knowledge of falsity or reckless disregard for the truth. That means you have to show, and it's a high standard, he has to prove that Candace made the statements knowing that they were false, or that she had very, very doubtful information and she knew that it was doubtful, but she said it anyway. And that's what we call the public figure standard.
So let me ask you this question. Up until Candace accused him of being involved with Charlie Kirk's unaliving, Brian Harpole was not a public figure until he went on the Sean Ryan podcast and talked about it after the fact. So she had already said this before he went on to the Sean Ryan show. So does that stand that public figure standard step in play now, or was it when she did it? Because she tripled and quadrupled down after the fact, but she had said pretty much some pretty damning things before he ever went on the podcast. So what would you say?
So just to take a step back. So this case, correct me if I'm wrong, it's going on in Tennessee, right? It's a Tennessee district court case, if I'm not
Yeah, I believe
mistaken.
Tennessee. Yes.
Somebody can fact check me, but I believe that's correct. Tennessee has a standard for whether this person, the plaintiff, is a limited purpose public figure or a public figure. It's generally
Right.
the same standard. And that is whether this person sought out publicity on this issue before the statements were made. And so to answer your question, clearly he did not. I mean,
Correct. Yeah.
Brian Harpole nobody really knew who he was. He didn't start a controversy. Now, if there were statements about him post making a podcast appearance, the standard could change on that. So in other words, the standard goes statement by statement, because in this situation, you have a fact pattern where Brian did maybe call himself, get into the public light. But the argument Brian's going to make is very simple. The argument is, once she went on this defamation campaign, I had to defend my reputation, and I had to
Right.
only say the limited things I could say to rebut these allegations, because my life is on the line. I'm getting death threats, and et cetera, et cetera. I think, I personally think that Brian will be found to be a private person. I don't think the public
Okay.
figure status is going to apply to him.
Got you. So, what hurdles do you think that he would have to overcome, or do you foresee, especially since he's in your playground? Do you think, oh yeah, that one's going to be hard for you to deal with, or that one right there that's a tough one? Do you have anything particular of those 5 elements that you brought up that you feel like he's going to have a hard time with?
You know, let me give you my quick and dirty take on this case. And look, this can change. So whenever this video gets published, you guys are watching it live. Tomorrow or a month from now, evidence
Right.
could come out, and it could change. It could change this. We could talk about. Somebody asked about the recusal. We could talk about that too. But generally, I think that Brian has a very strong defamation case. He has great lawyers. I've said this before. I don't know his lawyers. I've read the complaint. They made some extremely detailed allegations. They did their homework. Okay, and they assumed, Jay, I love when lawyers do this. They assumed that Candace is going to argue at some point that he is a public figure. And so they alleged knowledge of falsity within their complaint. So some of the examples, like Candace's access to flight records before publishing them about the Fort Huachuca allegations, right? She had access to those. How could she say he was somewhere where he wasn't? And then later she tried to cover for it, saying, well, it is possible, blah, blah, blah. She continued after getting, verification, I would say, of flight records. She doubled down on the allegations. That's going to be a hard thing for her to overcome, okay?
I agree.
I think the damages are probably very strong here, because listen, of all the things you can accuse somebody of, murder is probably the most heinous.
That's fair.
And this is a guy who ran a private security company. Are you going to hire him?
He's going to have a hard time. He's not getting hired, right?
Even if the allegation was, and again, she said this, that he at least knew that Charlie was going to be ended because he didn't make adequate, he didn't schedule any security for his next scheduled talk, which means he knew he was going to be going down, which implies knowledge of a crime that's going to happen. And again, are you going to hire somebody? Even the allegation, Jay, alone
It's crazy, right?
It is sufficient for people to be like, you know what, I don't know Brian or not, but we were going to hire him for this security event. Maybe we don't.
Wow.
So, these are things that make it devastating for Candace. I don't know what I don't know what her defense strategy is. I feel like she's doubled down in a way that just harms her. I wish she didn't, but.
Well, her strategy is to recuse all the judges, like impugn all the judges so they all have to recuse themselves. Can you explain that? What happened with the whole, like, her lawyer has sued every judge? It was a very weird exchange. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah. And so what happened was the judges recused themselves, and I'm trying to. This was in the Tennessee case, or this was the Macron
Yep.
case.
It's Tennessee.
It's the Tennessee. Okay. Look, the recusal, the court's order doesn't state the reason for the recusal, so we can only speculate. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if the real reason will ever come out. The judges simply announced that they recused and that the Sixth Circuit, which is the next court above them, the Court of Appeals for that district, would assign an outside judge to hear the case. The timing of it brought a lot of speculation because apparently, Candace had retained, I guess, this guy, George Farmer, and her husband.
That's her.
Right?
Her husband's George Farmer.
Yeah.
Her husband's George Farmer. And I forgot the name. I think they said Daniel Horowitz. Yeah, there it is right there. I think this is the lawyer that has sued the entire middle district of Tennessee. That's
So
crazy.
did he actually? So I don't know this, and I don't want to speak out of school. Did he actually sue?
Apparently so, but to the degree that they ended up recusing themselves, I just didn't understand what was the purpose. What happened? Somebody said her lawyer sued them. Okay, I'll do a little bit of.
Yeah, I haven't done. I don't want to speak out of school. And
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, I haven't researched what happened, but I mean, look, why would you sue judges? Is that a smart judges that are overseeing your court? That just looks bad. I mean, what's the
Right.
basis of it? It could have been, again, it could be
Over
there was a
different
comment that the judges were sued in an unrelated case. It could be.
Yeah.
It could be.
And maybe he's I don't know, maybe there's 10 judges, and over time he's ended up suing all 10 of them. So now he's coming before them because of this, and they need to recuse themselves because they've been sued by him. I can kind of see it. I don't think he sued them all for one reason. Everybody came to the flea market, so I had to sue everybody at the flea market.
So I was just doing some research on this. We can maybe talk about this real quickly, just to
Sure.
So apparently, David Horowitz, he has sued. It's Horowitz versus U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Tennessee, and so apparently Horowitz sued the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Tennessee and 4 of its federal district court judges in their official capacities, which is rare, but he did, and he's challenging the constitutionality of a local court order. It's Local Rule 8304. And that local rule restricts an attorney's ability to make public comments about pending litigation, which is allegedly violating the First Amendment, which, guess what? That's a good argument. I like that. So it's positioned to sue them in their official capacity because there's a constitutional issue.
Right.
He's not suing them because the judges crashed their car into his car or something like that. It's just that's the mechanics for this type of case. So it's not a lawsuit for personal damages. So for people who are speculating, so that's probably why the recusal. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? That
Okay.
That there's a constitutional issue that's being heard, and the judges didn't feel comfortable. You also got to understand that this is a highly, highly publicized case. It's a very political case, and federal court judges are appointed for life terms, and they don't want their future to be tainted by an allegation that they went a certain way, they made a certain order or decision based on the fact that the constitutionality of something was getting challenged by this lawyer. That could be why they said, better thing to do is to recuse ourselves and let the Sixth Circuit appoint new judges. That makes sense.
Okay. All right. I can rock with it. All right. Where do you think that one's going to go? Where do you think the Harpo case versus Owens, where do you see that one going?
Look, I think, I definitely think in discovery that Harpo's lawyers, when Candace gets deposed, if she gets deposed, she's going to have a hard time discussing the facts about the flights, the facts that she had in her hands at the time, the Fort Huachuca allegations. Okay, the fact that she should have known, and she likely had facts that controverted her allegations that Brian Harpole made a hit on Charlie Kirk. I think it's a tough case for the defense. And what's even more difficult is she, after the lawsuit, she didn't stop talking about it.
No, she didn't.
And so plaintiffs are going to argue that we have knowledge of falsity and reckless disregard for the truth. We tried to set the record straight. We gave her facts, and she doubled down on it instead. And that shows motive. It shows reckless disregard for the truth. And, you know, it shows that she's doing this to gain a following, to make money and cash in. And no lawyer wants to be on the receiving end of those kinds of allegations.
Right. No, I agree with you 100%. I like that. Okay, I do want to jump back to the Tyler Robinson case. For a quick moment, I want to ask you a question. Well, rather, Jim wanted to ask you a question. I do have a question. With Lance's testimony, could they go for premeditated murder for Tyler?
That's a great question. So I'm assuming the testimony that's being asked about is when Lance testified that
Right.
Tyler Robinson apologized. You know, he talked about that he didn't like, you know, the LGBTQ angles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that Charlie Kirk was talking about, and that he felt kind of personally vindicated almost by killing him. And the answer is yes. I mean, I think so. I think there's about 7 charges against Tyler right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just proving the first one alone would be a life sentence, mandatory. And it could be eligible for capital, right? Like it could be a death sentence. Aggravated murder is what it's called in Utah. Aggravated murder, capital felony. So yeah, it's possible. I mean, just on the existing charge, death penalty is eligible.
So, okay, let me ask you this question. I know you're not necessarily your wheelhouse, but what could get the death penalty off the table for Tyler Robinson? Is there any world where, okay, yeah, if this happened, they could take the death penalty off? Or do you feel like, no, they got him over a barrel and they're going to go for everything? What?
Geez, that's a hard one. Obviously, they have to prove the elements of the crime. They're going to have to show, again, beyond a reasonable doubt, that the DNA evidence, the evidence on the bullet, and so on and so forth, conclusively established beyond a reasonable doubt that Tyler Robinson pulled the trigger. The question is going to be, will prosecutors be able to reach that hurdle? Right now, there's a probability. There's some probability, I believe, the evidence shows that it was Tyler.
Yeah.
I think the defense, see, here's the problem. We don't know all of the evidence yet.
Correct.
We've seen a snippet. We've also only seen a snippet of how the prosecution is going to play their cards, and we've only seen a snippet of how the defense is going to play their cards.
Okay, so let me ask you this way. Is there a world where Tyler Robinson, on September 1st, Tyler Robinson walks in there and says, hey, I did it, and this is exactly what I did, and fesses up, spills all the beans, whatever. Is that possible? And what has happened between now and that day to bring them to that place?
So you're asking, can Tyler's lawyers get a plea, basically?
Yeah, just like, look, I did it. I mean, they got enough evidence, because I agree with you. We saw some pretty hefty evidence, but we do realize that's not all the evidence. And so because there's more evidence, we know there's at least a tractor trailer worth of more evidence backing up. He just says, you know what? I did it. And this is what happened, and fesses up and cops a plea. What brought him to that place of copping a plea? Is there even possible?
So my understanding of how this case would proceed in Utah is, and I might be off on this, but yes, he can, even ahead of the September 1 hearing, tell his lawyers, you know what, I'm going to own this. I don't want to die. I don't want to get shot. Irony, and
right, crazy work. Right,
and I'll take 50 years with with parole and with good behavior being a consideration for early release. They can start that conversation now.
Gotcha.
They can do it before September 1st. I don't think it will happen on September 1st because the defense is going to basically argue that there's no probable cause. So I think
Of
everyone
course,
will
yeah.
dig their heels in on that day. But before that day, and even after that day, it can happen at any time. It can happen the day trial is set, as you know, the
Right.
criminal trial set. So the question of what are the chances of it? It's a good question. I mean, look, again, the public doesn't know all of the evidence. We just don't. We don't know what's in the prosecutor's toolkit. But at the end of the day, after the plea is done, a judge, it's going to still go in front of a judge, and
Yep.
there's the sentencing aspect of it, right? And look, I don't see this. I don't see an easy win. But again, I'm basing that off of just what I've seen in the preliminary hearing. We just
Right.
don't know what the defense is going to come up with, and whether prosecutors will meet the threshold of beyond a reasonable doubt.
Okay. There's not a question on it. So because the defense really didn't put up a real defense, do you foresee the defense coming in with what we've now known as conspiracy theories? Do you see them coming in, well, what about the Ninja Turtles and what about this, that, and the other? Or do you think they're going to try to be more sane and rational? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there aren't
Shout
any
out to
Ninja
Ninja
Turtles
Turtles.
for the defendants for the defense to point to. What they're going to do is they are going to sharpen their opposition to DNA evidence. They're going to say, okay, it met the probable cause, but here's why it's not beyond a reasonable doubt. Here's the doubt. Hey, jury, here's the doubt you should be paying attention to. There's another explanation for this that prosecutors haven't portrayed as evidence. And remember, in a criminal case, there is discovery process, right? So they get to see each other's cards before an actual trial, before a jury. So I do think they're going to give it their best shot. I don't think there's going to be Ninja Turtles and aliens and conspiracy theories, because I think defense is going to know how crazy that sounds to a jury.
Right.
So they have to come up, they have to poke holes. And I think what they're going to do is they're just going to say, this doesn't meet the evidentiary standard. I don't think there's somebody else that they can actually say that they will have the burden of showing the alternative theory on. I don't think the defense has an alternative theory right now. It could change by the time trial happens. I think they're going to rely on poking holes in the prosecution's evidence and just saying, they can't meet their burden of proof because there's weaknesses in the DNA evidence and the expert's testimony and where Tyler Robinson was relative to Charlie Kirk. Could he have gotten the shot off? Is he that much of an expert as they say he is to shoot him like that? And et cetera, et cetera. That the remorse, poke holes in Lance Twiggs' testimony that Lance is not credible because Lance and him had a falling out. Here's what you don't know. Right? Those are all the things that they could do.
So they have to. So they do have to argue, like, okay, he wasn't able to make this shot versus he made the shot.
Yeah, because if part
Really?
of the
Okay.
prosecutors, beyond a reasonable doubt, is Tyler Robinson capable of doing this? Did he have access? That's why there's evidence. They go into evidence of where'd the weapon come from. Does he even know how to shoot a gun? Like, what's his background?
Like, how do I prove that you know how to shoot a gun? That's the part I'm trying to figure out. Because, of course, if you say, well, let's take Jason to the range, I'm going to pretend like I've never shot a gun because, this is a life or death situation. But how do you know that, like, how do they know that he has a skill set to shoot a gun?
Well, there could be a history that we are aware of or not aware of. I don't know to what extent any of this came out at the preliminary hearing. I didn't watch every minute of it. But prior firearms experience, training, hunting experience, law enforcement experience, hobby, social media, testimony from friends. We used to go shooting once in a while. Did he own any firearms? All of those things would come in.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right. There is another question. And I thought it was pretty interesting. And I've seen this in several cases where they dispute the DNA, they dispute ballistics, cell phone data. My goodness, in the morning. They love to tear apart cell phone data. The problem is, doesn't that hurt them later on in future? Like if you and I are both lawyers and we're arguing in a case together, and you're the prosecutor, I'm the defense, and you're really just ripping into this ballistics, DNA, cell phone data. Won't that hurt you later on next time you need it? Like in a case where you're using cell phone data, ballistics, and DNA. I'm like, hey man, you were arguing against this stuff 2 months ago. Doesn't it hurt them?
What's interesting is, first of all, the judges are the gatekeepers about whether certain defenses and exculpatory evidence, to what degree it comes in. So just because an attorney argued in a different direction in a separate case doesn't mean that comes in. Now, the expert himself or herself who's testifying,
Right.
that can. So if you're an expert that says, and you are pro ballistics, meaning ballistics
Yeah.
is a science, it's proven science, here's my methodology, we tested the ballistics, we looked at trajectory of the bullet, what caliber the weapon was, the caliber of the gun, how the bullet casings, etc. We studied it. It's a science. If you are pro ballistics as an expert, and then you've got one case where you said, ballistics is not a great science, you can bet that that's going to come up at trial to impeach your testimony, for sure. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I just always wonder, like, I don't know if you watched it here in Atlanta about a year and a half ago. We had the YSL trial, and it was a big deal with Fonnie Willis and her boyfriend at that time. And during the disqualification hearing, where they were trying to disqualify the whole DA's office from pursuing Donald Trump in that case, it came up that they were using cell phone data to track her boyfriend leaving from one part of town to being found within 100 yards of her townhouse. Well, they were trying to rip it apart left, right, and center. I'm like, you do know that you're using cell phone data in the YSL trial that you're trying to put Young Thug in jail for. You're using the exact same information. You're trying to shoot it down for yourself, but then you're going to use it for Young Thug. But it was just a really wild case. And it didn't really come out like that and wash out like that, but that I always thought that was interesting how they move like that. Were you about to add anything with that?
No, I was not. That was a good tape.
So real quick, and back, I know we're hopping around. Why do you think Candace keeps pushing back this Macron case? Like, don't you want to just get it over with?
The Macron case sucks for her. That's why. I mean, let's be honest. That's a shitty case. If you're Candace, I'd be doing that. I would kick the can down the road too. And sometimes that's the only strategy you have to play
is can kicking.
Is can kicking, because for XYZ reason, that could be the strategy. God only knows what's going on with that. Lawyers, I'll say it this way. Lawyers are busy people.
Yeah.
Stipulations happen to extend deadlines all the time. Does it mean that she knows she's going to lose the case? Not necessarily.
Right.
Yeah.
She's hoping against hope.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
So let me ask you this. If it gets to discovery, what kind of evidence do you think would become particularly important for either Macron or Candace? What do you think they're looking for or would want to find that would really strengthen their cases either way?
Yeah, well, to my recollection, so on the rescheduling of things, this is actually relevant.
Is dismissal. They motion to dismiss, and it keeps getting kicked. The can just keeps getting kicked.
So there's a hearing scheduled right now for July 27th.
Yes.
Delaware Superior Court. Mm-hmm. And that's on Candace Owens' motion to dismiss. And
correct.
Her lawyers are doing the right thing. It's what I would do if I had this case, which is argue First Amendment, argue that this is subject to dismissal, argue that this is free speech, it's opinion, it's criticism. I'm entitled to talk about one of the biggest public figures in Europe and his spouse. I would argue all those things. The motion to dismiss is kind of the immediate battleground. All right. Do I think that it will dispose of the entire case? I don't think it's going to dispose of the entire case. And the reason I think that is because I think the Macrones are going to prove that, similar to the Brian Harpole case, I think they're going to prove. Now, Macron is a public figure. Bridget Macron, there's no question.
Yeah.
So they are going
No
to
question.
argue that everything will turn on whether or not the Macrones can prove that Candace Owens spoke and made false statements of fact with knowledge that those statements were false, or that she had to have entertained serious doubt. So there's evidence that she was like questioning herself on whether she was truthful or not. That's where the entire case is going to hinge. So I think there's a good chance this does get to discovery. Now, your question was,
Really?
if this moves forward to discovery, what is there to fear?
What is there to discover that would strengthen either case? Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, first of all, gender is being questioned. So to the extent that there's a absolute affirmation of gender, whether it's DNA evidence or whatever it is, that's pretty damning. Certainly it proves the truth of the statements. Does it prove that Candace had a basis to keep repeatedly saying that Bridget is actually a man?
Right.
I think if I'm Candace, what I'm concerned about getting out, frankly, are communications with editors, with publishers,
Right.
with informants, to the extent that that stuff's not privileged. And a judge can order. It happens all the time in these cases, a protective order. This is not going to be public, but I want to see what it is. And I want to see the names of who you relied on, Candace. Or were you just making shit up knowing that it was wrong?
I think it's option B.
Correct. So there's credibility at stake beyond just the case that would come out in discovery. And if you are Candace Owens or you are a content creator and you rely on a loyal audience, discovery can be absolutely damaging for your credibility, and you could lose your audience in addition to the case.
No, I got you. All right. We're rounding these bases, my friend. We're rounding these bases. All right. We're going to go back to old school WWF. Remember when they used to pit two wrestlers against one another? And I want you to go ahead and tell me, which one of these cases do you think is the strongest and which one do you think is the weakest? We talked about the Harpo, Tyler Robinson, of course, Candace versus everybody. Like, which one do you think is the weakest and which one do you think is the strongest in your opinion?
Now, considering that these are three different jurisdictions, you got Delaware, you got Tennessee, you got Utah, one's a criminal. I mean, look, I think that Candace will lose her Brian Harpole case.
Okay.
I think the amount of statements that she has said, the volume of it, in combination with the plaintiff's ability, and it's hard to prove knowledge of falsity. I think that you might be thinking, well, Raees, with as much evidence as there is, what about the Tyler Robinson case? And my response to that is, I can't prejudge without knowing the evidence. And I mean, it's a criminal case. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. It's the highest standard.
No, I agree.
And while I think that the defense has their work cut out for them, remember, the defense doesn't have the burden. It's the plaintiff. They just have to poke holes sufficiently. So I think that Candace's case, I think Brian Harpole's case against Candace Owens for defamation is likely to be the one that has the most probability of success.
Okay. And then Tyler Robinson, you think is second? Or Macron?
I would say Macron next, again, because they're both civil cases. That's another reason why.
There you go. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And remember, Brian Harpole, I think, is a private figure. So I think he only has to prove negligence. I don't think he has to prove knowledge of falsity or reckless disregard for the truth. I think they can anyway. So I'm going in order of burden here.
No, I got you. Totally got you.
Yeah.
Harpole, Macron's, Tyler Robinson.
Bingo.
I can dig that. I can work with that.
Yep.
Now, man, you know what, Raees, I don't like when I bring you on, I don't know if it's your beard. I don't know if it's your swag, your aura, but all these great questions start coming in. And I'm like I'm trying to round these bases, man. And two great questions came in. Can the Macrons file? Can they? Let me start again. Can the Macrons file a separate lawsuit against Candace, alleging that they were behind an assassination plot against her? I know you heard this one, right? Where she said the French put out an assassination hit on her late last year. Can they sue her for that?
They can certainly amend their complaint for any new statements that they believe are defamatory. When I would argue that this one is.
This was crazy, yeah.
Yeah, so they can absolutely amend, and perhaps they should.
I love it. Okay, now, because you are a defamation guy, have you ever run into defamation on this here platform, the YouTube platform? And because I got a great question from Chriselle. She says this: how is Candace Owens able to ridicule and be racist towards Jews and not get censored on YouTube? How can she defame others too on YouTube and get away with it? Thank you so much for the 5, Chriselle. What do you think about that? Do you have any opinions on that? How is she able to move on YouTube and other social platforms like she does?
So let me say this. Content creators have significant leeway to publish statements and opinions and hate on all groups. It's part of the fabric of being American, whether people like it or not. What that means is you can say racist things. You can say hateful things. You can say prejudicial things. You can spew nonsense. You can do it, unfortunately or fortunately. That's part of what the First Amendment protects. What you can't do is spread false statements of fact. That's where we draw the line. That's where defamation.
Can you help me with that then? Okay, help me with the false statement of fact. I understand, but to Chriselle's point, there's things that I've had issue with on this here platform that other content creators have not had issue on, and they've done the exact same thing. So, like, can you help us with that? Like, I understand when you say racist, I totally get that part. But what is a false statement of fact? And you know, don't get me demonetized. But what is a false statement of fact, as you understand it?
Yeah. So the standard, you asked a great question. And by the way, everyone watching should know this. Especially anyone who's a content creator, pay attention. The standard is if you make a statement that is capable of being proven true or false, that is a statement of fact. So. Okay, so I'll give you an example that's just not in the defamation world. If I say it is 98 degrees outside, you can go and you can take a thermometer and you can measure if it's 98 or close enough. The gist of it, is it 99? Is it 100? Okay. If I said it is hailing outside and it's a snowstorm, common sense, any reasonable person would say that's a lie. It's absolutely not. You follow?
Facts.
That is a statement of fact because we can measure it. We can determine. If you publish a false statement of fact, now you have fallen into the territory of defamation. You'd still need to prove all the elements of defamation, that it was about a particular person, that it caused harm, right? The standard of fault, negligence, or reckless disregard. You have to prove those things. But a false statement of fact is exactly that. It's a statement that is not opinion. Opinions are not statements of fact. You are a piece of shit. You are an asshole. Those you can blur those out when you do snippets later. You are a moron. These are all opinions. You can't really prove or disprove those statements. It's colorful,
Fair.
Right? It's triggering.
Fair. Mm-hmm.
Calling somebody a Nazi is actually, some jurisdictions have said that that's defamatory. So sometimes it's blurry. But I'm giving you a flavor for what's opinion. Opinion is something you can't really disprove. It's a qualified statement. You're asking me, like this whole episode so far, we're talking about likelihoods of prevailing, weaknesses. That's my legal opinion. I can't be sued for that. If I say, in my opinion, Candace Owens' lawyers are going to lose, they have an uphill battle, and they're making the biggest mistake of their career by defending her, that's my legal opinion.
That's fair.
It's based on disclosed facts. So that's the standard. Now, you asked a question where the person watching asked a question about censorship on YouTube. And let me just say this. I don't think YouTube participates with a even brush while they're painting.
Right.
Okay,
I agree.
I think there are
No
certain
argument for me.
creators that are favored because let's face it. Jay, you don't have 5 million, 6 million, 7 million subscribers.
No.
So the incentive to demonetize you or ban you is much higher than somebody who is a large creator because you're raking
right.
in the dough for the platform. So I don't agree that, I'll say it this way. I do think the platform, YouTube's not the only one, but I do think platforms have a bias, particularly YouTube, though, because their monetization strategy is different than Instagram and TikTok and other platforms. So they have an incentive not to censor you if you are a big platform. I'll say that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And back to the statement of opinion being, I don't like Formula One racing. It's not for me. That's just my opinion. I don't really like it. But if I say that Raees stole that 7-foot replica car behind him, that could be proven false, and that would be a false statement of fact. Am I right?
That's exactly right. Look, you
Okay,
are allowed
perfect.
to, you are allowed to, and look, as a First Amendment lawyer, I would argue, I have to argue, Jay, that everybody has a right to an opinion. Now, not everybody's opinion is worth something. And I still think the cost of a microphone should be $1 million, by the way. I still think that, personally.
Okay.
Okay? Because there's just some trash, like so much content is trash on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. So much of it is scammy, and so much of it is, I mean, the online coaching world, we haven't even talked about that. It could be next episode for us. But there's so many ways in which I could tell you that people who have a platform shouldn't have a platform. But that's my opinion. And
Right.
fortunately or unfortunately, the First Amendment protects your right to have an opinion on very, very controversial and politically charged issues. Candace Owens gets that right. Joe Rogan gets that right. Tucker Carlson gets that right. The list goes on.
Got it. I can dig it. I can dig it. All right, Raees, guess what? I'm going to let you get out of here. I really appreciate this, man. This was a lot of fun. Oh, man, here it comes. But can Brian sue for more money? Why did he sue so low? Thank you so much for that with the two. I don't know. That's a good question. Like,
What's too low?
I don't know. Maybe this one, I don't know. I have no idea. How much did he sue for? I was not prepared for that question. Man, you can't be coming up here with these questions like this. You got to give me a heads up.
Let's see. I could probably get you an answer. I'm going to pull up the complaint here in a minute. But, generally speaking, many jurisdictions like Arizona, for example, you don't have to plead. You don't even have to plead a specific dollar amount. What I think people are confusing is the $75,000 is because this case was filed in federal court. It's to meet the threshold of jurisdiction. It's based on diversity. It's based on diversity, which means that the parties are domiciled they exist in different states, and our controversy is over 75,000, and therefore we can be in federal court because there's no federal question. That's the other way to get into federal court is to have a federal question.
He could later on he wins, Brian Harper wins, Candace Owens is hit with a $5 million judgment.
5 million, 10 million, 100 million, 100%. That's just a jurisdictional burden that was alleged.
The jurisdictional burden. Okay.
Correct. And we'll only know this through discovery, and we may not even know an ultimate ask until trial.
Right. No, I got you. Raees, thank you so much, man. This was super cool. All right, so you already chummed the waters now. We got to come back and talk about online coaching.
Let's do it. And for people that are interested, as you know, Beard Lawyer, that's my handle pretty much everywhere on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. And I appreciate your support, but I talk about a lot of this stuff on my other channel. So, give me a follow or a like and come check me out.
The moderators have been dropping your link in the chat, but we'll make sure they drop them all in there. And I'll put them in the description of this video as well to make sure everybody knows where to find you in the description of this. If you don't mind, I'm going to drop you back. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I do want to follow back up with you at the end if that's okay.
Of course.
All right. Thank you so much, Raees. Thank you again. Y'all, that was a lot of fun. I'm glad the beard lawyer was able to come through. Thank y'all so much for the great questions, by the way. And I'm hoping that you'll go check his channel out, follow him on the TikTok and all the other social medias and such like that, and give him some support because he's an excellent content creator, very talented, and was definitely willing to give us some time. So we got to give him respect and love for that. But again, thank y'all so much for tapping in with us today. I'm going to see you all later on. Today is Thursday. I'm going to go take Chief Executive Second Born out and hang out with her before she goes to work. So everybody, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you again real soon. Grace and peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Witt Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.